The Packers' victory over the Bengals was a lot more stressful than it needed to be. Let's talk about it and try to sort it out. And look forward to next week's big game against the Cardinals in Arizona. It's all on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Welcome into the Packers Fan Podcast. I'm Dan Dialer, a.k.a. Captain Pack Sparrow, not from the Gaming Outsider podcast, but filling in for the incomparable Scott Clark as he gathers up the pieces from his long weekend of hosting duties at what looked to be an amazing time at the R2V2 Gaming Convention.
Welcome, Dan. Glad to have you this week, helping fill in for Scott, who is recovering from that very successful R2V2 conference. And me, I'm Wayne Henderson, and with the Packers winning, and the Cowboys, 49ers, and Lions all losing, it makes for a pretty good week. So, on this 327th edition of your Packers Fan Podcast, you know it's the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. We're going to recap the highs and lows from the Packers' victory over the Cincinnati Bengals, and we've got some listener feedback comments to share, so share we shall.
Then it'll be go time to preview next Sunday's Packers versus Cardinals tilt in sunny Arizona, including my keys to a Packers victory. Now let's go over to the leaders of the win over the Bengals. Passing, of course, we have Jordan Love, who was 19 for 26 for 256 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a 101.3 passer rating. Leading the way in rushing was Josh Jacobs, of course, 18 rushes for 93 yards, 2 touchdowns, as well as 57 yards receiving for a total of 150 yards from scrimmage. Also leading on our Packers, Matthew Golden had 3 receptions for 86 yards on 5 targets, while also having 2 rushes for 16 yards to break into triple digits with 102 total yards from scrimmage. How about some foreshadowing for our PFP weekly poll? Bueller? On defense, leading the way was Edgerrin Cooper with 11 tackles, 4 solos, and 1 tackle for a loss. Our opening drive and highlights we'll go into now. Jordan Love led the team right off the bat with a pass to Arthur Romeo for a 21-yard completion and then 7 consecutive runs. Scott's going to like that one. Leading up to a poor choice by Jordan Love when he could have thrown the ball out of bounds and getting some points, hopefully. And instead, he threw into coverage where, me personally, I saw 4 white Bengals jerseys and only 2 Packers in the vicinity, which resulted in an interception. The opening defensive drive, however, boy, they came out with their hair on fire for 2 consecutive tackles for losses, forcing for a 3-and-out. And I have to say how impressed I was with the defense during the first half with 3 consecutive punts and what could have been an all-time NFL outdoor record 67-yard field goal attempt. But fortunately, Matt LaFleur called that timeout.
Bengals fans would say, unfortunately, but that's their problem. Everybody ices the kicker. They should have seen it coming. One of the highlights, let me start off by saying, Dan, that I didn't think the following was going to be one of the game's highlights until the action started unfolding. Since Brandon McManus is still recovering from his thigh injury, we picked up former UFL kicker Lucas Havrasek, and Lucas made 2 very valuable field goals, a 43-yarder and a 39-yarder that put the Packers up by 9 points with just a 1:52 left in the game. And the word is that Havrasek might have been trying to get a substitute teaching job in Cleveland when the call from the Packers came in. So I'm just wondering, can you imagine if Lucas had potentially ended up near Rockford and was covering for Scott Clark's class sometime instead of kicking game-winning field goals for us? Just a thought.
Maybe Lucas could have joined the growing push to having a kilt worn by the person vanquished in the Wager of Fun contest.
Oh, boy.
By the way, Wayne, Matt LaFleur gave away only 1 game ball today, and guess who it was? Maybe Havrasek gets a write-in vote in our listener poll. Stay tuned to find out. Another great highlight I saw was another Matthew Golden one with an awesome catch and run for 35 yards. And it makes me very curious what the team is going to look at like when Christian Watson and Jaden Reed return. Josh Jacobs didn't have any huge single run, but he did everything he could to put the team on his back and quietly amass 150 yards from scrimmage between rushing and passing receptions. He was, I don't know if you saw this, Wayne, but he was actually seen on the sidelines throwing the Technicolor rainbow.
Oh, great.
Because apparently he was pretty sick, but he still he really, like I said, put the team on his back. And another tough cookie out there, of course, is Tucker Kraft. During that second half, when that has touchdown run, he threw a block, and while doing so, turned around and was able to, reel in a pass from Love and diving in for a touchdown to extend the Packers' lead.
Yeah, that is good stuff indeed. And speaking of good stuff, one other quick highlight for me was just a quick shout out to how beautiful Lambeau Field looked under the October sky. There's no other team that can even compete.
No, I even seen a post from a Bengals fan on the way up here to Michigan.
Oh yeah,
and they said how awesome it was at Lambeau Field, and that there's no other stadium they'd like to lose in.
Oh, that's nice.
Defensive highlights again. The whole entire no points allowed. Punt, 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 punt. Only one first down was allowed in the first half. And then one thing I noticed as they were walking off the field was Micah Parsons, tablet in hand, not even worried about taking this break, but he has tablet in hand going over his game plan and coming up with something that he could do maybe to help us, continue that defensive push, which unfortunately didn't work.
No. Let's dig into some of the lowlights, Dan, because early on, just when I thought things were going to start going well, when we received the punt for our second possession, and of course, a holding penalty gave us horrendous field position.
Ugh.
And I'm just getting kind of sick of the penalty flags, especially like you've talked about in the past, special teams. I'm just saying.
There were 2 special teams penalties of the 5 that were called yesterday.
Yikes.
One of the low lights, I mean, this isn't on the players, this is on the announcers, but it seemed that they were constantly talking about Flacco the entire first half. I thought I was listening to the Bengals home announcers, honestly. I get it. He performed pretty darn good for only being in the team for 4 days, and having the playbook for such a short amount of time. But it seemed a lot of bias. They weren't talking a lot about the Packers, or they weren't being fair and balanced, as I'd like to say.
Definitely not equal. But I am still forever grateful for Joe Flacco for when he and the Ravens beat the Niners in the Super Bowl back in the day, because that type of memory always makes me happy.
Me too. Oh, the Niners.
Exactly.
Another low light is, as I alluded to earlier, it was a tale of 2 halves where the defense came out pretty flat in the second half, giving up 18 straight points. They were all over the Bengals in the first half, and then they came out, and I think they may have had just too much time off, because the Bengals possessed the ball in the last play of the first half, so they weren't on the field for that last drive, and then they had the entire halftime to have a break, and then the Bengals got the ball and they chewed up over 10 minutes of the clock with a 17 play drive resulting in a touchdown. They took over 2/3 of that third quarter.
Insane.
It's just, it's total. There's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Wayne. Again, I've talked about this before in my voicemails, but Matt LaFleur and his trick plays, or the end arounds and the jet sweeps, I just don't think that they're working very well. I think they need to come up with what they did in the second half and, to get the ball out of Love's hands quickly, build up momentum, and get some point separations from our opponents. Like, it truly feels like a cat and mouse game where, eventually the mouse is going to win. And I think that's kind of what happened in the Browns game. And then also that tie with Dallas. I say just put your foot on the opponent's neck and play every game like it's the playoffs.
That'd be nice.
Of course, that's not the answer all the time, but the teams that we should be beating handily, they're letting them stay in the game. We were double-digit favorites in all 3 of their last games. In fact, I don't know if you knew this, Wayne, but thank God we won, because that was the first win in a month.
It boggles the mind how the schedule played out and the bye week and everything. And we were double digits favorites, which is hard to say. Do that 10 times fast. But in both this game, or actually every game this year, I heard that at least at some point during the game, we have been leading by double digits. We just need to hold on to those double-digit leads.
Yes. But then again, when you have receivers like T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, speaking of Jamar Chase,
sometimes some players are just unstoppable because in the fourth quarter, I know it's Jamar Chase, but how on earth did our Packers allow him to catch that touchdown while being double covered? And then we allowed the 2-point conversion. I mean, I could hear Vince at that moment saying, "What the hell's going on out here?"
Wayne, I think I said that exact phrase to my wife as we were watching the game. I know adjustments are made at halftime, but that second half, like I said earlier, was just a complete polar opposite. And it makes me wonder if some of these guys are still getting into football shape because, practice is practice, and they're only practicing with full pads maybe once a week, according to the latest, collective bargaining agreement, which I'm not a real big fan of. I think the players need more practice reps, in my opinion, because their practice is actually their game. The games are actually their practice. Those are where they get the reps. And, if they had more practice, then I think it would result in a better on-field product and fewer injuries because, a boxer doesn't get better by watching tape and, doing a walkthrough. They get better by getting hit in the mouth. Speaking of injuries, I think we have to acknowledge, unfortunately, Lucas Van Ness going out with a foot injury, Dontavian Wicks with an ankle injury, and Javon Bullard was being evaluated for a concussion. I haven't seen any updates on that. The only thing I did hear is that Lucas Van Ness did have an x-ray, and it's not a broken foot, but all three of those players did not return. So hopefully they can come back, overcome those minor setbacks and return next week versus Arizona.
Yeah, I hope so too, because the first injury report doesn't come out till Tuesday afternoon, and we record Monday nights, so we're kind of in the dark, but hoping the best. They didn't look really serious, though you never know. I'm hoping for the best because we're going to need everybody. All hands on deck in Arizona.
That's right. To give credit to both offenses, though, there were no punts in that second half.
That's wild.
Kind of going back to my problem with our defense. Our second half, I was listening to a podcast on the way up here today, Wayne, and since the last three plays of the Browns game, the Dallas game, and then this game, and those, if you should just take the second half, there's only been one punt and one missed field goal. Every other play for our opponent was a scoring drive. Not very good.
Our defense was on fire, and then who knows? They're going to learn from this. We're in first place in our division, and
we have the fifth best record in the NFL. We're still the favorites to win the NFC and the second highest odds. I know you'll like this one, the second highest odds to win the Super Bowl.
Woohoo!
Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go indeed. So after the game, I had our weekly poll question sent out there. You can find it in our Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com as well as on X at Packers Fan Pod. Try to post that shortly after the game is in the books. And much like Matt LaFleur, I want to know who you are giving the game ball out to this week. Are you giving the game ball to Josh Jacobs, Matthew Golden, Jordan Love, or Micah Parsons? And then we did get a write-in vote on X for our substitute kicker, Lucas Havrasek, that was written in by Michael Lightfoot on X. So, Dan, if you're giving out the game ball, are you going to give out just one? And if so, to who?
If I'm just giving out one game ball, I really feel like it was Josh Jacobs being the star of the game. Like I said in the earlier with the highlights and the stats, he nearly eclipsed 100 yards rushing, had a total of 150 yards from scrimmage, which accounted for 37% of the Packers' total offensive yards.
Whoa.
I feel like once they stopped with the end arounds, the jet sweeps, and those kind of things, those plays that take so long to develop, that's when the offense was really clicking. The short passes under 10 yards, and then get the ball into your playmakers' hands. An exception could be Matthew Golden. He had 2 rushes and 3 receptions for 102 yards, but still, to me, Josh Jacobs was the more impactful player in this game. How about you, Wayne?
Well, personally, I think a case could be made for any of these players, including our kicker, our substitute kicker. However, in not taking anything away from Josh Jacobs' incredible performance, I'm going to go with Matthew Golden because his long yardage receptions brought an immediate electricity to the game. It just felt
you could hear it in the crowd.
There was like, yes, it's happening. It is happening right in front of us. So as far as the votes from the listeners, after combining Facebook and the X votes and then averaging them out, 46% of the voters went with Matthew Golden, followed as close as you can be by 45% of the votes going to Josh Jacobs. Then we've got 4% going to Jordan Love, 3% for Micah Parsons for taking double teams all day long, and 2% for our substitute kicker, Lucas Haversek.
That poll was about as close as our wager of fun.
Indeed it is, Dan. And I thought maybe there was a chance of a 2 or 3-way tie, but maybe another time. But we do want to remind everybody to please join the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community. Be part of the conversations. That, again, is at packerscommunity.com, because we've got our live game chat sections going, and we've got another one lined up for the Packers at Cardinals game, which you just never know what's going to happen. They seem almost like a rival in that how many times we've played them, considering, they're not in our division at all. And we got some interesting tidbits coming up when we preview the game in just a little bit.
Yes, we do indeed. Listeners, please, we want your feedback. We want you to be a part of the Packers Fan Podcast community. Let's hear your thoughts, good, bad, and the ugly, after watching the game against the Cardinals. But also, please include your wager of fun guess for the huge Week 8 Packers at Steelers matchup. Old Aaron Rodgers, is there going to be a revenge game on deck? Join in on the fun by either opening up a voice memo app on your phone, attaching it to an email, and shoot it off to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com, or calling the PFP voicemail at 1-920-3-PACK-GO. Deadline for your feedback is Sunday at midnight Central, so please send it in right away when you're feeling all the emotion. Don't take the time to analyze it like I do. We want to hear your emotion and your excitement. Also, before you order your Packers gear on Amazon or Fanatics.com, go to PackersFanPodcast.com and click on the affiliate link and help your podcast hosts continue to produce this fan-centric and fantastic podcast. Thank you, and go Pack, go. Go, 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 Pack, go.
Wow, on the spot, on the fly. Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate that. And believe it or not, we didn't receive any voicemails from y'all this week, but I wanted to share some of the great comments from the listeners in the PFP Facebook group. Again, packerscommunity.com. Now, one of our most frequent voicemailers, but you're here right now, Dan, so it's a long,
bit more of me today.
A long extended voicemail. And again, call us right after the Cardinals game on Sunday afternoon. Operators with cheese heads and headsets are standing by. Some of the comments that really jumped out at me that I wanted to share. Tyler Seaver in the group said, it was a win, but it wasn't a dominant win like I was hoping for. And Joe Christensen said, mostly short passes and runs, like I think Scott recommended in his Keys to Victory.
I do believe you're right.
I think so. And Jared in Colorado, here's to hoping the offense gets past this slow start. We absolutely need our offensive line to get better. Can I get an amen for that?
Amen, indeed. Maybe a little early Christmas gift.
Please. So let's go ahead and dig in, because that game is going to be here before you know it. Your 3-1-1 Green Bay Packers heading out to Arizona to face the Red Sea, known as the 2-4 Cardinals, on Sunday, October 19th at 3:25 p.m. Central Time. Now, the Packers have a huge advantage in this all-time series with the Cardinals, leading them with 47 wins and 26 losses and 4 ties. In fact, the first time we ever played the Cardinals, when they were in Chicago, the game ended in a 3-3 tie.
That sounds like a really exciting game.
Oh, man, a barn burner. Surprisingly, the Cardinals then went on to beat us for the next 4 games in a row. So somehow we turned the tides because we have that huge advantage. And recent playoff matchups against the Cardinals in Arizona have been frustrating, to say the least. We all remember January 10th, 2010, lots of points by both teams, went into overtime at 45-45, and Cardinal Michael Adams with what looked like a strip sack fumble recovery against Aaron Rodgers. To me, it actually looked like it should have been called a face mask penalty against him, and it cost us that overtime loss, 51-45.
Can I make a little comment there?
Yes, I'm not bitter.
In that play, I remember that so vividly. And I swear to God, Rodgers was looking out of his ear hole. And I remember watching the day after when they were doing when they say, I'll talk about the referees and the plays and how they came about to their decision and everything. It was Mike Pereira, who at the time was the lead referee for the NFL. And he said there with a straight face that wasn't a face mask. And right there, that he lost all credibility there. And so whenever I see Mike Pereira giving his little analysis on rules and stuff, I don't hardly give him a grain of salt to run with.
Exactly. Credibility. And I personally was going to help turn the Pack's playoff fortunes around going against the Cardinals. So my family and I, we traveled out to Arizona for the belated rematch, which wasn't until January 16th, 2016. On the plus side, we got to witness 2 fantastic Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary passes in a row to get us into overtime. Yep, another playoff matchup against the Cardinals in overtime. This time there weren't any controversial calls by the refs, just the inability of anybody on our defense to be able to tackle Hall of Famer Larry Fitzgerald on that day in overtime. Instead, we let him run 75 yards down to the 5-yard line, followed by a short pass back to him again from Carson Palmer for the game-winning TD. And the pain, Dan, the 26-20 overtime pain, especially leaving the stadium to like 30 minutes of nonstop chants, Larry, 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 Larry.
The Larry Mary.
Yeah, we, can't fault him. He's a great player and a nice guy.
Yes.
But
I will say that as sad as I was at the loss of that game, that was just that was the most, for me, watching that loss was one of those games where it's like, okay, both teams really laid it all out there, and I didn't feel terrible about it. Even though I was sad that the season was gone or done for that year, I felt pretty good about the product that we had in the field. There was very few mistakes, and it just panned out that way.
Indeed. And for next week's regular season meeting, again in Arizona, most of the time it's in Arizona, my son and daughter-in-law are taking their 2 boys to their first ever in-person Packers game. Can I get a Go Pack Go?
Go, 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 Pack, go.
Do you have a favorite Packers-Cardinals memory that?
I do, sort of. My favorite Cardinals memory wasn't a Packer versus Cardinals game, but a game in which the Cardinals lost to the Atlanta Falcons. The Cardinals' loss combined with the Packers' win versus the Steelers in 1994 secured the final wild card spot for Green Bay and getting into the playoffs. I remember watching the game towards the end, and the TV cameras were, for some reason, trained up on the crowd in the area right beneath where the club seats were, with the glass enclosed area. Well, the fans were not looking at the field because they were looking at the TVs to see the result of that Cardinals game. Because as soon as the Cardinals lost, the crowd just erupted, even though there was nothing happening on the field. And that was, in fact, 1994, that was, I think, maybe the first or second time that the Packers had made the playoffs in years. I was actually still in high school, and I'm 49 now.
Nice. I remember that game as well. I forgot that it was the Cardinals, but I remember watching and just waiting to see what happened in these other games because it was that down to the wire in the playoff chase. That's good stuff. Now, of course, this week in Arizona, weather's not going to be a factor because it's still pretty hot out there. So the roof is most likely going to be closed, not just to keep the heat out, but let me tell you, Dan, it's louder than heck inside that stadium. They need to open the roof, but I don't think they're going to.
Well, it'd probably benefit them to keep it closed, even though we don't want it to. But, I always say steel sharpens steel. So if that's what they want to do, and that's up to them, it's their home game, and I'm ready for it.
Are you ready with keys to how the Packers might be able to beat the Cardinals this week?
Funny you should ask, Wink, because I do have keys to a Packers victory over the Cardinals. Strategy number 1, turnovers. During the preseason, it was a point of emphasis for Jeff Hafley and his defense, and yet we've only seen 2 turnovers through 5 games, leaving the team at a push for this season with 2 interceptions by Love, no fumbles, and 2 interceptions by our defense. We have to win the turnover battle to be considered as one of the elite teams in the league. With our terrible special teams play over the past few years, the Packers truly need to counter that weakness with some takeaways. Turnovers typically come in bunches, so hopefully that is the case beginning with Arizona as the Packers begin to really get into the meat of their schedule. Strategy number 2, discipline. Do your job. Execute the game plan and do your part. Don't pull a Brandon Bostic and forget your duty. Reel in those emotions and do not commit silly penalties like personal fouls, offsides, false starts, etc. Those penalties are absolute drive killers. They did a really good job of this versus the Bengals by committing only 5 penalties, and 2 of those were special teams. So only 3 between the offense and the defense. And this is a vast improvement over the Cowboys game when they committed 14. Keep that train rolling. Strategy number 3, be strong, be decisive, and exhibit a killer instinct. I have mentioned my disdain for conservative coaching and clock management in my voicemails before, and I want to drive that point home again. Instead of playing not to lose, the Packers need to come out swinging. All gas, no brakes. Put the Cardinals away early by getting the ball down the field to Kraft, Golden, Wicks, Dubs, and company. I'm not talking the 20-yard bombs and playing home run ball. Instead, exploit the center of the field just beyond the linebackers in front of the cornerbacks. Get the ball into our playmakers' hands and let them get that yak, Tucker Yak and Cheese. Score a lot of points and make Arizona pass the ball to play catch-up so Hafley can let the likes of Parsons, Gary, Van Ness, Cooper, and Walker eat at the quarterback cafe. This will lead to the turnovers I mentioned in key number 1. The Cardinals are currently without their number 1 and 2 running backs, and they may also be without their number 1 wide receiver, Marvin Harrison, who left last week's game versus the Colts with a concussion. On top of that, they may also be without their starting quarterback, Kyler Murray. Stop being Midwest nice and attack the ball with prejudice and intensity like we saw in the first 2 games in the first half of the Bengals game. Go, Pack, go.
I am fired up, Dan. I am fired up from that. I think it can be done, and let's score a crap ton of points. I love the phrase quarterback cafe. We're going to be dining there, and the internet is undefeated. The fake news headline that the Cardinals were picking up a new quarterback in Joe Flacco this week. Just hand Joe Flacco the Packers schedule, and he knows where he's going. Very clever. I like it. Thank you for the keys to victory. Let's see how we're doing with our 2025 season Wager O Fun, our game score predictions. Now, last week, Scott predicted the Packers 30 and the Bengals 20. So he ended up with a differential of 5. I predicted Packers 28, Bengals 17. That's a differential of just 2 points because
that was close.
The final was 27-18. So I think I got a W this week. How'd the listeners do with their guesses?
Well, in the PFP listener section, Joe Christensen predicted 31-17, which is a point differential of 5. Garrett Stritzel picked the Green Bay Packers to win 33-10 with a differential of 13. Brett Connor, Green Bay 24, Cincinnati 20, point differential of 5. Me, myself, and I predicted 34-14 with a point differential of 11. David Hawkins, 27-24, he predicted the Packers to win. That's a point differential of 6. But to take the win home again and pick up score number 2, Jay Walters, Green Bay 28, Cincinnati 21, with a point differential of only 4, which is one better than Scott's.
Holy moly. It's a lot of close guesses this week.
So with that, we have in first place Jay Walters with 2 wins, and in second place, David Hawkins with 1 win. And that's all we have so far since we've all picked Packers victories, and I don't think anybody has picked a Packers loss yet. Have they, Wayne?
No, those days are gone, Dan. Over the past couple of years, we're just win, please win, yes, win. And so I've got 2 wins. Scott doesn't have a win just yet, and we do have a tie. It's crazy that we already have a tie. The Packers have a tie. The numbers are all askew. So with this week's prediction for Packers at Cardinals, I'm going to go with Packers 28, Arizona 21. And Scott texted his in. He's going to go with Packers 27, Cardinals 17. How about you, Dan? What are you thinking is going to happen out there?
I'm thinking they're going to get the ship right again. We got to hit 30 points again. I really think we're going to be able to do that. It's going to be a fast field being on AstroTurf down there. With the roof closed, it's going to be a little more comfortable. My guess for the wager of fun is going to be Green Bay 31, Arizona 21. Our listener picks so far for Week 7. Make sure you guys get those in, guys. Either call in like you did. Well, you didn't do this for the game this week, unfortunately, but make your picks on the community page. Garrett Stritzel with picking the Packers for 31, the Cardinals for 16, and Brett Connor, Packers 27, Cardinals 21.
I like it. And yes, be sure to post your final score guesses in the Facebook group sometime before kickoff. They'll still be valid, but we love to be able to share them on the show. And another thing I love to share on the show pretty often, Dan, is the NFC North standings, because with the Lions losing last night, they dropped to 4-2. That puts us back into first place at 3-1-1.
Can you tell me again who's in first place?
The 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers are in first place, Mr. Dan Dyler, Pack Sparrow. The Vikings are 3-2. They're on their bye this week. The Bears are 2-2. They're in Washington right now playing the Commanders. They started just about 20 minutes ago, so we don't know what's going to happen there. Aside from the Packers, did anything else jump out at you around the NFL this week, Dan?
As much as I disdain the San Francisco 49ers, I still got a feel for them in their injuries, how they keep piling up. They got all-pro Nick Bosa out for the season. George Kittle, he's likely out for not the remainder of the season, but a huge part of the season. And then Fred Warner yesterday broke his ankle, and I think he tore a ligament there too. He was also an all-pro. I know it's, like I said, I know it's the 49ers and we hate them as a fan base, but it's unfortunate to see injuries happen to some of our best players in the NFL, and I do wish them a speedy recovery.
Fair enough, Dan. Fair enough. For me, the craziest part about the ending of the Lions-Chiefs game wasn't the game itself. It was after it was over. It was the fact that there was this insane brawl that had most of the Chiefs and Lions players out on the field involved in one way or another. It was filling up my entire television screen. Do you have any background on this? Because I'm like, what are they so upset about?
Well, Mahomes was going up to Deion Branch, and I think Deion Branch is his first name, but his last name is Branch. He went to go, just give him a handshake and say good game, and he just brushed right by him, right through his handshake. And then Marquez MVS, our former Packer, and now unfortunately, he's also a Super Bowl champion, even though he's with the Chiefs. But he looked at Branch and was just like, "Come on, man!" And Branch went up to him and punched him in the face with the helmet on, which I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. And a brawl just erupted out of that, out of a good game. Hey, have a good game, guy. Sorry.
Oh, that's what it was all about. It was crazy. So obviously Branch is going to get a fine or maybe even another suspension or something.
He was suspended for one game without pay.
Already? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, he definitely deserves
real quick with that.
He deserves that, at least at a minimum.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no. I mean, it's kind of funny. I saw another post in social media, and it's talking about how everybody loves it when a batter goes after a pitcher and starts a brawl, and everybody loves it when there's a brawl in a hockey. But then you got the world's basically most violent sport outside of martial arts, and everybody poo-poos it, like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that." I don't know, and I think keep the battle on the field between the zeros, and then after it, just be men, be adults, and say good game, and go on to the next game. Another happening. How about those Giants taking down Super Bowl champion the Eagles on Thursday Night Football?
Fantastic. I mean, the Eagles went from being the last undefeated team in the NFC to now losing 2 games in 4 or 5 days, and I'm here for it. And as far as the Giants, Jackson Dart, their rookie quarterback, and rookie running back Scadaboo, great name by the way. Those 2 rookies are electric. Just so much fun to watch. I think they've got a future, them and the Giants.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they're good. And, the Baltimore Ravens, I don't know what's going on, but them and the Buffalo Bills are going into their bye weeks. So adjust your fantasy teams as needed.
Indeed. I know Lamar Jackson is definitely looking forward to a bye week this time, big time. So he can hopefully get healthy and get back under center.
Oh, absolutely. Because my fantasy team misses him. And with him being out injured, Derrick Henry's having a rough time. And so he's not racking up the points quite like he normally does. I'm thankful I've got Justin Herbert for my backup quarterback. So I'm doing okay. I think I actually won this week. It may come down to tonight's game. I might find, what is this, week 6 or 7, and I finally won. So.
Speaking of fantasy football, if you see one of your opponents, this is all about sportsmanship to me. If you see one of your opponents doesn't have a player starting, whether that be on bye or they're on IR or they're out for whatever reason, let them know. Because I mean, just like I said earlier, steel sharpens steel. I'd rather beat the best than get a cheap win. Everybody has a different philosophy, but that's mine. That's my own personal feeling towards that. So, and you never know what's going on in someone's life. So maybe if you know that person, reach out to them. Maybe something's going on, and you can help them out in some way.
I got to tell you, we greatly appreciate y'all supporting the old PFP on Patreon. Thanks yet again for that. And details on how to join are at PackersFanPodcast.com/giveback. So thank you, and go Pack Go, Mr. Jay Walters, for supporting at the Bart Star level. And Mr. Dan Dyler, there he is on the other side of my computer screen.
Hello.
Go Pack Go. And thank you for your Jordan Love level patronage. Scott and I greatly appreciate it.
We also have thanks and Go Pack Goes for those iconic number 4 Brett Favre level supporters. Scott Boers, Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast, and Megan. And how about our number 1 Lambo level patrons? How about some Go Pack Goes and thank yous to Joe Christensen, Hank Davis from the Free Podcast Tools YouTube channel, Brett Connor. If interested in joining in, check out the details at PackersFanPodcast.com. Give back. I also want to remind everyone about Scott's podcast, The Gaming Outsider. I'm telling you, if you or your friends, your kids, anybody you know, if they play video games, this is the podcast you want to listen to. As we get ready for the Packers versus Cardinals and get ready to welcome Scott back, here is Mr. Wayne Henderson.
Thank you very much, Dan. And thanks again for filling in for Scott this week on the road. In fact, you've got a portable setup in a hotel, empty restaurant or something. What's going on there?
The little ballroom they have, like a little conference center, like for business meetings and whatnot, or maybe a small wedding reception. They have those expandable walls and whatnot. And I talked to the general manager here, and I said, hey, I'm trying to do a podcast, and it's kind of noisy in our room, but I got my son and my wife in there, and I just asked the question. He said, yeah, sure. And then he decided he had a button-up shirt on, and he started unbuttoning it, and he had a Chicago Bears shirt, and he says, if you wanted a special guest on your show, I'm available. And then I told him, of course, the Bears still suck.
Well, he knew that already, I would assume, even though he's wearing the T-shirt. But that was very kind of them to let you do that. And as soon as we're done here on the show, you can go get your wife. You can do some two-stepping, swing, waltz, whatever you got. Right.
While we're on I'll give them a shout out too. It's the Harbor Inn in St. Joseph, Michigan. Great place, very beautiful, great staff, and just clean rooms. A lot of stuff to do around here, especially in the fall weather. It's right on the beach of Lake Michigan. It's just gorgeous.
Excellent. Well, enjoy your stay, and thanks again for joining us. Want to remind everybody, the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. Please go ahead and tell more of your friends about the Packers Fan Podcast, like Dan Dyler there, telling a Bears fan about the podcast. I just absolutely love it. So follow us on X. Scott still likes to call it Twitter. We are at Packers Fan Pod. He is at GoCast Scott. Gaming Outsider is the GoCast.
And you can follow me, Dan Dyler, a.k.a. Captain Pack Sparrow, on X at CPT Pack Sparrow.
Love it. And here's PFP community members Megan, Dan Dyler, Joe Christensen, and Andre in LA with their Go Pack Go outro to take us into Arizona.
Go Pack Go!
Go Pack Go!